We are building a digital innovation health tech hub that will cover a few sectors and seek to bring business and industry to Barbados.
It is based on what we call the sprung structure methodology, or tensile structures. So when we say tensile structures, a lot of persons may think, oh, this is a tank. But no, these structures have the ability to last for over 50 years.
The teams that developed the technology, that deployed the technology, worked very closely with Barbadians. We estimate that there were about 200 jobs created just to the erection alone.
But with this approach, this allows new startups in science um, to begin with. So young entrepreneurs that now coming over to the University of West Indies, some now coming over to BCC, but have an idea and they need it nurtured. But also some who may be at the international level and want to scale and choosing Barbados as that space to scale.
Revised direction of industrial policy and strategy in Barbados. The Digital Innovation and Health Tech Hub at Newton is part of an overall strategy of the Ministry of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology. And I restate the name of the ministry for a reason. And it is to be able to make the link between innovation, science and technology and industry, and to in particular signal the not always new but revived direction of industrial policy and strategy in Barbados. We know that we have traditionally and still do have certain sectors, but the work of BIDC and the ministry revolve around really bringing innovation to existing sectors, as well as finding the opportunities to bring innovation and technology to be able to create new business. For example, we say all the time that data is an industry. And what this effort does is to be able to invest in making sure that we have new, thriving, emerging industry in Barbados. So what's happening at Newton? We are building a digital innovation health tech hub that will cover a few sectors and seek to bring business and industry to Barbados. Now, there's a project that many have heard about, Reclaiming Our Atlantic Destiny. That project, its home will be at this new hub. And why? Barbados has the second largest collection of transatlantic slave records in the world. And we realize that that kind of information, that kind of heritage, that kind of legacy is also an opportunity for us not just to know about ourselves, but to use that data to be able to, as a basis for new industry and new knowledge and learning. That is also a commodity, it's also a product. And so we're supporting, through the building of this hub, that road project, which is going to see the digitization of all of those archives. We saw what happened recently with the archives that regrettably some were lost in fire. We want to make sure that we are never in the position of losing those records again, or at risk of losing those records again. And so the road project is going to occupy some of that space, some of those 80,000 square feet in the first phase that Mark will talk a bit more about. Altogether told though, what we're going to have at Newton is the capacity for 16 new businesses. And what we realize is that we've had a history, and we do already have an existing medical technology or health technology industry in Barbados. We believe that there's far more scope for that industry to grow. And quite frankly, if we are looking to attract business to Barbados, and if we're looking to empower local entrepreneurs, what is it that they need? They need space to operate. They need fit for purpose space to operate. They need the technology to fuel that space. And they also need us to invest in the kind of technology, the kind of digital infrastructure that is going to support the work that they're doing. In many cases, they need enhanced bandwidth, they need speed, they need the kind of environment, physical and otherwise, that's going to allow their company to thrive. So we're making sure that we create those physical spaces. We're making sure that we create that business environment for the kinds of industry that we're seeking to invite and to build.
The technology behind this structure is cutting edge. What I want to say up front is that the leaders in industry across the globe right now, SpaceX, the Orbit, also Tesla is using this technology to rapidly expand their production capabilities. It is based on what we call the sprung structure methodology, or tensile structures, similar to what we already have at the airport. Our airport is predominantly a tensile structure in the departure lounge, and also in the area where before you're signed to go onto the plane. And those structures withstand significant level of weather and wear and tear, because our airport tensile structure has been in place for how long, Minister? I come along finding it. So when we say tensile structures, a lot of persons may think, oh, this is a tank. But no, these structures have the ability to last for over 50 years. So this particular technology actually has a warranty of 50 years on it. It is based on Teflon composites, so it's woven, so it's unpenetratable as a fabric is concerned, and then it's tensioned very, very tight and insulated on the inside with mold-resistant insulation. So the issues that we have in Barbados with mold and sick buildings will not occur with this building, because very often mold and these other things develop because of humidity developing within the structure. But the actual coating and the finishes of this particular structure protects the building from developing that type of scenario, which is critical for digitization, especially if we have aged paper or records in the space. You want to make sure that they're safe from that particular thing developing. The other critical thing about the technology as well is the actual shape of the structure. We call it the spaceship, not just because it looks like a spaceship and it carries a lot of space on the inside, but that round shape gives us a level of resistance that allow the building to be Category 5 rated. The tech is already Category 5 rated from the installer sprung out of Canada, but we further strengthen its resilience by making it a round structure, so that therefore there is no flat surface by which the wind forces can have anything to push or pull onto. So that was a critical part for us in terms of making it more resilient. And in addition to that, maximizing the use of the space on the acreage that was available. We had a very tight overall space of 6 acres, and we put this particular facility on just about 3. And if we just did it as a big square, we would have reduced our resilience, but as a circle, we improved the resilience while maximizing space as well. In addition to that, with so much covering capacity and as far as the building envelope is concerned, you can imagine when the rainfall, lots of water will be available. So it gives us a big opportunity to harvest water and that we can push into other industrial processes going forward. So the technology as a structure really is cutting edge. It allows for high levels of efficiency, especially energy efficiency. The temperature and the climate controls on the inside will significantly reduce the amount of energy that you got to use to cool the building. So it's really putting Barbados at the forefront of not just what is new, for just being new, say it, but because we're a country that has commit ourselves to getting to 100% carbon neutrality by 2030, our role in helping to in a positive impact on the climate. So these type of technologies that are less carbon intensive, we deploy for this particular project.
So it's not just, Mark talked about the Category 5 rating, which means that the building is built to be able to withstand Category 5 hurricane or weather events. It is the energy efficiency in terms of cooling and so on. And also the fact that there is a particular way of powering the building in terms of biogas and so on that Mark will talk about a little bit later. The rainwater harvesting, which is critical. We talk all the time about non-revenue water, which essentially means what? That when the rain falls and the water falls on the surface, when it goes into the ground, we are not able to capture that and have Barbadians benefit from it. But a lot of that is lost not in terms of not just in terms of when it falls and enters the ground, but also in terms of when it leaks from faulty mains and pipes and so on. And so to be able to harvest the rainwater directly for the purposes of what is happening at the building and its operations is extremely important. And Mark said it when he spoke, it's not just the question of being sustainable because we like to say that we're sustainable, but it saves resources. It saves money that can go into other kinds of investments. And so we wanted to make sure that this structure could act as a model for a sustainable unit for a building. It is not to say that we're in a position as a country to move away from a brick and mortar approach, but in places where we know that this kind of construction is important for the purpose of the building, that is important that we are able to make use of it. But it's not just for this isolated project. One of the things that was really encouraging about the project is that the teams that developed the technology, that deployed the technology, worked very closely with Barbadians. We estimate that there were about 200 jobs created just through the erection alone. But also, we want to be able to make sure that people are learning, that there's transfer of knowledge and technology. That's a key part of what we do in this new industrial approach, so that our own artisans and workers and owners of businesses who work in construction can appreciate the techniques involved in being able to deploy these kinds of materials. So I think that we take this as demonstration of sustainability in action when it comes to our construction, our industrial build out. That's one of the really encouraging things about the project. It is easy to take in isolation when we see projects being started, buildings going up. It's easy to consider them in isolation, but I think it's important to understand that none of these projects or initiatives are happening in isolation. And so we some time ago opened a food science center. This is now a life science center, so more related to pharmaceuticals, nutraceutical industry, and to health technology. Every day we are asked about, or we get questions from companies that are in the medical technology, diagnostics area. When we talk about artificial intelligence and the capacity there, it's not just a dream. Yeah, there are companies, there are individuals here and abroad who are doing the kind of work that makes AI relevant to improvements in diagnostics, improvements in medical technology, how we see, how we build lenses, how we diagnose what's happening with our bodies. These are real industries that are interested in having spaces to operate. And it's not just about the business that they will bring, the jobs that they will create, which are high value, high wage jobs that are available to Barbadians. But it's also about the value in health itself, in the health sector itself. It is that when we are able to understand and be first movers in these technologies, then they benefit the Barbadian public. Then we are developing the kinds of technologies where people don't have to get up and leave in some cases to get a diagnosis. Where we can use telemedicine, we can promote technologies that make use of telemedicine and so on. But I want to highlight that this is a circular industrial effort. So we have an agriculture sector. We have products that are being created from that sector, agricultural produce itself, but also some of the waste material that's created in agricultural, in growing and husbandry and so on. That gives us an opportunity to use agricultural products in the food science center, in the life sciences and health, and be able to develop, in some cases, homegrown products, in other cases, products whose origins come from other places, and those business people come here to operate. So this is a part of a whole, and Mark will talk when he speaks a little more about what are some of the other centers of excellence that relate to innovation in industry. But this is just part of the build out that in which we are investing to make sure that there's actual opportunity for business to grow.
Now, one of the things I want to add is that you'll find that in Barbados, a lot of our young people gravitate towards the biological chemistry sciences. And UWE's data attests to the fact that we got about close to 1,500 persons per year signing up going into the scientific programs. Because in Barbados, minister persons that they want to become a lawyer or a doctor. And so what happens is that the system tends to push them towards, not push, but they tend to land in that biology space. So we have lots of young people with scientific training, but nowhere or infrastructure that provides that scientific support. So what this facility does, alongside University of West Indies, allow them to have a space that they can begin to build out their scientific startups, whether it be along the lines of digital innovations, as the minister was saying, to artificial intelligence, diagnostic type applications, medical instruments, medical devices, even as far as implants for persons who may have had cancer, and we're developing new types of implants, and they need a space to develop and do their research and development. So we say very often life needs space, and scientists need space with the tools, technology, the correct infrastructure that allows them to do the biosafety applications. These things traditionally will cost a lot of entrepreneurs a high level of capital outlay. But with this approach, this allows new startups in science to begin with. So young entrepreneurs that now coming out of the University of West Indies, some now coming out of BCC, but have an idea and they need it nurtured. But also some who may be at the international level and want to scale, and choosing Barbados as that space to scale and to bring their tech here and use Barbados as a hub for reaching the rest of the world. So it's really about underpinning the business of science, so that science begins to be the arrowhead that drives the rest of our industries into the future.
Yeah, and I want to make the last point on this, that, people may look on and say, well, that sounds very fancy. And, it might. It might sound as if we are going in the direction, in a new direction, in which the rest of the world is going. We are, we must. But it also means that there are opportunities for people who are in other sectors to contribute to these. So as I mentioned, there are opportunities for farmers who are growing certain crops, whether it's aloe, or whether it's Bajan cherry, or whether it's sweet potato, or people who are developing technology themselves here to contribute to what is happening here. So again, it is about a value chain. Barbados has had a history that we did not choose of operating in the space of bulk commodities, right? So we grow a plant, we grow sugarcane, we get the sugar, and that's the bulk commodity, right? And we see it in other regions, in others of our neighbors nearby, where it is, your coffee, you're taking the green coffee and you're sending it to somebody else to get the value add, and to get the higher income from that. What we say with industry is that we have to be able to move further along the value chain. And that is not just with life sciences and food sciences. That is also even with technology. We talk about AI, and we know that in some cases there are particular countries or jurisdictions that are the ones that are building the technology. But there's nothing stopping us from building on that for our purposes, and that in itself becomes a new technological product. So I suppose what I want people to be left with is the fact that this is a chain. We're not starting high up. There are inputs that we need from agriculture, from other sectors to be able to feed into this. And there's a space and there's room to grow all kinds of industries around and into this. And that's certainly the direction for industrial policy as we see it.
So another key point at the Life Science Park, in which the Digital Innovation and Health Tech Hub is included, is we have the biohydrogen biomethane facility that's being built as well, just below this current facility. And what that will be doing is taking a lot of agricultural waste, so be it the waste from the coconut vendors, who are just right there at the corner. So it does save on logistics of relocating those inputs, and converting that roadside grass and other industrial waste in the food space, and converting that into biohydrogen and biomethane that then powers the facility, at least a percentage of the facility. So that is going to give us a big sell point for the space, because those who are operating in that location will be operating in a green facility. And what we see on the export market now, with climate and other forms of resilience and environmental certifications coming to the table, such as Cradle to Cradle, is that a lot of our companies have to become a lot more green, not only in terms of their facilities, but their processes, their packaging, and the actual product itself. So we're trying to upgrade overall in industry, but this facility will come turnkey green, so that those companies who operating from there can actually have that certification stamp on their processes from day one. Yeah, so it's very excited about it, using the waste. So we have industries in the area such as the beer manufacturers that have a lot of manufacturing waste that can come to that facility. Also lots of water, secondhand water, that we can put into that facility. So the selection of Newton is not just by coincidence. It is because of the industrial ecosystem that lends itself to supporting this overall project.
You know, the model of sustainability is going to become more and more important for us, not just because of the global demands and competition for energy, and making sure that there's access to energy. These questions of being green and energy efficiency and so on are really about access and affordability of energy, which is needed for business. And if you're able to build that into design and to plan ahead for that, then that means that the entrepreneur has less to worry about, but also then that the final product need not have that built into its cost. Yeah. So it ultimately acts as beneficial to the consumer. But the other major consideration that the world is experiencing right now, next month in February, there's a major global AI meeting that we expect to be a part of, and a conversation that we expect to be a part of, that really is about the digital divide and the fact that those countries that are in command of the AI technology also have greater access to energy and are less energy dependent, are more energy independent than economies like ours. So data centers are a big draw on energy. Mm-hmm. And given that we intend to, over the next 3 years, build out and scale up to a full tier 3 data center, what does that mean for sustainability? How are we going to be able to power that? What does the cooling look like? What are the energy demands? And how do we bring this kind of sustainability model from Newton into what we're ultimately going to be doing at the data center? So this is the kind of dress rehearsal that puts us in a position to start planning for the sustainability of that data center so that we are in a position to provide compute to young people. The data center, in our imagining, is not just about storage. Storage can happen here or anywhere in the cloud. Having a data center that's fit for our economic model is about making sure that these same startups and technology entrepreneurs have access to compute. And what do I mean? That they're able to have the kind of advanced computing technology that allows us to use data to build products and services, because ultimately that is the industry, and that is the high value industry. That means what? It means that if there's a hurricane or if there's some other event and goods can't move physically from here, that we've climate proofed our economy, that we have the kinds of services that we can press a button and we can export something that does not require immense logistics to send. So we are planning for the future, but we're planning for the now, because the fact is that emerging and major economies are already here. And we need to give our young people and our industry the wherewithal to compete on a level playing field. And that's what these kinds of projects are about.